Y'all, I promise you I was going to bed. Members, y'all know I had just got off alive a little while ago and I was going to bed. But I have got to do this review tonight of 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After, Season 9, Episode 7, Hasta La Vista, Baby. Let's talk about it, shall we? Oh, yes, we shall.
A sweet old auntie. Thank you, subscribers, and my nieces and nephews, and all of y'all who have been here through the long haul. Shall we get into it? Oh, yes, we shall. It's time for Auntie's advice. Sweet old. It's time for Auntie's advice. Oh, yeah. It's time for Auntie's advice.
Members, I'm telling y'all, didn't I say I was going to bed? I said I was going to bed. Hey there, Sugar 48. Hey, Tamika Carter. Hey there, Rory. Hello there. And hello there. Oh my God, y'all. I said, I can't wait till tomorrow. I've got to talk about this tonight. I'm going to be in here real quick. I'm going to be out. I got my bedroll on. Okay. And Tamika said I could barely make it through this episode. Oh my God. This episode was full of foo la la. The first couple I want to talk about is Tigerlilly and Adnan. Child, ain't nothing going on but the rent. She had went and met with her stepmother, or her dad's new wife, and Tigerlilly, and they were going to a baby shop to go and look for some clothes and all of that kind of stuff, right? And when they went to go and look for the baby clothes, the mother-in-law basically told her, "We are afraid for you, girl. We don't know what you're getting ready to get into. This man is overbearing. Your dad and I feel uncomfortable with him, and we just feel like, you're going to convert." And she was like, "What are you going to do with the other boys?" And she was like, "Well, I got my oldest one in the Christian school," but she ain't saying nothing about the little middle one. But anyway, honey, I don't know what's going on in her relationship with Adnan. Adnan is mad because he's telling her that, she is right at the end, right, about to give birth. She's supposed to be giving birth in 2 weeks for her little baby and everything, right? Because she has a scheduled C-section, and he wants her tail to convert. And I just was like, okay. Brandon and Julia. As we all know, we have been preparing for Julia's parents to get here for like forever. I think since last year. And Julia's parents are finally here, right? They are driving, and I believe they live in Richmond, Virginia. I don't know what airport they were going to, whether it was Dulles or National, but they were in traffic. And I'm thinking to myself, you got to, here in this metropolitan area, Richmond is not the DMV, but Dulles kind of is DMV-ish, right? It's like right at the edge of being DMV. So if they were going international, then they should have left 4 hours early, because you never know, during the day they try to do the road work, or they try to do it at night, and so they should have got up earlier. But anyway, she is panic stricken. They have, prepared all this time for the parents to come. Brandon's parents called and inquired about what was going on, and they said that they was going to get them, and they wanted to join into it. And his parents are just too much. And so, Julia basically said that, she is not. Brandon asked her a question about how much her parents knew about the situations and circumstances that have been going on in their lives, right? And she was like, nothing. They don't know nothing, right? Because I don't want them to worry. They're in another country. She knew that her parents were going through a divorce and stuff like that. So I thought it was wise of Julia not to add that burden or that worry onto her parents. I thought that that was a very good and intelligent decision for her to make. And so, Brandon feels opposite. And I'm saying, Brandon, you handle your parents and let her handle hers. She know exactly what her parents can take and what they can't take. Now, I know that all of the parents were together when Julia and Brandon got married and stuff like that. Brandon and Julia are planning on having another wedding, right? Because she alluded to the fact that it was COVID, and so a lot of people did not come. So she's doing a redo. But anyway, they pick them up from the airport. They take them downtown DC. So they had to have picked them up from National, because if they picked them up from Dulles Airport, there's no need to stay in DC. So they had to have picked them up from Reagan. So anyway, they get the parents and everything, and Brandon had only booked 2 rooms, which I thought was sensible and reasonable. But because the parents are divorced, right, they really needed a third room, but who's paying for it? So anyway, they get a room. They make a decision that the father is going to stay in a room by himself while Brandon's mom stays with them and all that, right? And Brandon's going to be on the sofa. And so, it is what it is. They all go to sleep. They wake up the next day. They're going through, the different sites in the District of Columbia and everything. And Brandon starts schooling her about, the presidents and, having knowledge of American history, while she is schooling Brandon about not being able to speak enough Russian. She said that, they've been together for 7 years and he should know more, of her language, right? He was able to say the general hellos, the salutations and stuff like that to her parents. But Brandon, didn't have anything else. And I think that it's easy for him to do that because she speaks English. Even though it's broken, he understands it. We understand that she's doing a great job. And so anyway, the two of them are having a great time. And then they get to the house, and guess what? Voila, they come in and look like somebody spit up confetti all over the daggone place. They got sparklers and the cheap little dollar store stuff just hanging red and blue and silver and red, white and blue. And Brandon's parents again have overstepped their bounds. And Julia, came out as a woman in the head of the household and said, y'all should have ran this through me before y'all did this, right? And the mother said, yeah, I know that, but we just went on and did it anyway. I think it's going to be some chaos and confusion with this particular couple as we go along the rest of the season. And it's going to probably irritate me, but guess what? We'll be out every week to look at it. What is the next couple that I want to talk about that was on this show tonight? Okay, think, Auntie, think. So you did Tigerlilly. What other couple was on here? Okay, you gotta think, Auntie. It's late. You're supposed to be in the bed. Oh my goodness, y'all, help me out. What other couple was on here tonight? Okay. What other couple was on here? Y'all help me out. Help me out. Help me out. So I know it was Andrei, Libby, and the dad, but who else was on here? Okay, but was it just them? So Darcey, thank you. Thank you so much, boo. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. So Darcey and Georgie, are in his hometown, and Darcey is getting the opportunity to meet with his family, but she's just meeting with the sister and the little boy. He wants to, build a connection with him and all of that. Thank y'all so much. And so, they going through and they doing what they doing with the whoop whoop and the boop boop boop. And they, are learning archery and just, different stuff like that, right? And so they're having a great time. And so Darcey comes over with her translator app. Darcey is very covered up. And I must say that this is the prettiest that I've seen Darcey look since the early days. Like, this really is the prettiest that I've ever seen Darcey look. She was covered up. The hair wasn't all wow. I mean, it's bleached. Well, Darcey really looked pretty. Y'all let me know downtown in the comments section. So anyway, she, went through meeting the sister, and then she gets her app out and she asks the sister whether or not, she told the sister that she loves having these times with her and she thinks it's fantastic and all of that because she really wants to meet his family. She has not met his family since the two of them have been married. And so, the sister's like, I like it too. And so she asked the sister, has Georgie talked about her? And I thought that that was inappropriate because he has been talking and telling her that he has not shared a lot of his life. And so Darcey, of course, insists on asking the sister that. And the sister told her that, that he had talked about her and that he wanted them to be happy together and have a great life. But the sister is concerned, and so are the parents, because he has married this older woman who is not, probably not in childbearing years, right? Or at least this is what they're thinking, that she's not in childbearing years. And she probably isn't. Like, she probably isn't. And so, Georgie has not said anything about it. He's been kind of keeping it quiet. They get back to the hotel room, and Darcey wants to start an argument about not knowing Georgie and him not sharing. Like, she doesn't even know what's in his bank account, how much money he makes. She knows nothing about this man, but yet and still she married him. And so, he was saying, if you knew how much I made, you would spend it. And that is just absolutely not an excuse, Georgie. But anyway, that's the excuse he gave him. So, of course, Darcey gets emotional and gets into herself and said, you don't care anything about me. You don't listen to me. I don't know anything about you. And this is why I left you before. But you came back to me several times. And stupidly, I took you back. And she said, I took you back because I can, but you don't listen to me. So, she's all spazzing out and all emotional and everything. And she tells Georgie, if you don't like it and you don't like me, you don't want to be with me, leave, right? Leave me alone. And so, Georgie, in his own way, calms her down, tells her she doesn't listen to him. And, he is trying to talk. Men don't usually talk. And so, he really needed her to, pipe down. And so she did. She sat down. And then that's when he came with the violins and started saying, that he is not used to expressing himself and all that kind of stuff, right? And so, she gives into that, but then, she just wants him to do what he do with the whoop whoop and the boop boop boop. I think that this couple is just, I don't know why they're together. I don't know. But anyway, it was a hot mess express. The next couple that I want to talk about is Gino and Jasmine. Let me tell you, and Natalie and everybody else, honey. Let me tell you something right now, honey. This was a hot scene right here. Now, as we all know, last week, okay, on last week's episode, they had ended up getting into a little ruckus because Jasmine came in there on 100, right? And, the girl stepped up to Jasmine when she called her a whore and asked Gino why he was bringing all the women in from, the whore in from Vegas. And so Natalie stepped up to Jasmine, and then, it got to be a little scuffling going on downtown to the club. And so they finally got outside. She's blaming Gino and telling him, this is your fault, right? You should have gotten this together. And, you should have, made first of all, he should have made her aware of what was going on. He should not have brought her into that environment. Jasmine is saying, to Gino's cousin in the inside that she did not know that she was going to pop off like that. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Surprisingly, this was the first time that Gino had ever met Mark. Mark, whatever his name is. That's the real whore. But anyway, I digress. So Gino said that this was his first time ever laying his eyes on this man that the two of them had made an agreement about. Gino had met with Jasmine a couple of episodes ago downtown to the bar and was asking her about why she was still living with him after all this time. It's Matt. She was talking about, why she was still living with him, and she was basically, giving the reason. Her reason was that, this was who they had made an agreement with. She had already been friends with him. And that, she had nowhere else to go. She could have went and stayed with Gino's cousins since they love her so much. Why wasn't that a place that Jasmine stayed at? When he came out and had the audacity to confront Gino and Natalie, I was like, anyway, I'm not there yet. She could have stayed with them, because they act like they absolutely love her. But she did say something to her about it. And she was like, Jasmine, she did not know. She did not know First of all, Jasmine said that she was standing over there laughing and kiki and gagging and all of that kind of stuff. When Jasmine came into the room, the conversation had already shifted, and this girl wasn't laughing or anything. She was, finding out information and explaining, right, why her and Gino was together, and sort of what she knew. Gino was standing there, of course, letting her talk because Gino has a tendency to do that, right? He takes the I don't know nothing about this position on it, but he really can't. Anyway, she wasn't laughing and kiki in the con when she came in there. She was being confronted by the cousin who had just informed her that Gino had a quote unquote date with Jasmine right before she came there, and that Gino is wishy-washy. And she was just asking Gino whether or not this was over, that kind of stuff that was going on. So Jasmine is a lie that girl was standing in there, Kiki and the Kakan. I don't think the girl had an opportunity when she came in there to even smile about anything, the way that the cousin had approached her and the way that they were all standing around waiting for something to pop off. So I think that it was Jasmine already knew, and I think that they knew that Jasmine was going to come in there with that mask while she brings in her roommate. So anyway, she's standing there and everything, and she's telling Jasmine, Jasmine, she really did not know what was going on. She was thinking that the relationship was over and that Gino was done with you. And so Jasmine was like, oh my God, I popped off on her, and I popped off on her, for no reason. Of course you did. You're with Matt. I don't understand, regardless of what she knew or what she did not knew. No, Jasmine had no right to come in there the way that she did, like a raging bull. And now she's on social media releasing footage or releasing a recording of where she was telling Gino that she needed his money. Gino clapped back and said, no, you got all your money. Matter of fact, you owe me. So anyway, so in the meantime, in the between time, the cousin is like, let me go and check on Gino. That is my cousin. Woo. So Natalie and Gino are having a continuing their conversation out on the bench. And she just wants to leave. She did not plan on walking into a situation like that. She had no idea that it was, all of this stuff was going on. She was assaulted by Jasmine, right? But, they may say, well, you did step up. But at the end of the day, Jasmine had no business putting her hands on the girl or chasing her around, her or the cousin, right? They should not have done what they did. And they're lucky that it was just her and not some other woman, right? But Natalie did stick up for herself. And I love Natalie's character. I love how she's handling this. She said, I got 2 boys at home. I have a son who is in the Navy, and I cannot afford to be in this mess. This is embarrassing. It's humiliating. And I don't get, this is not my life. Like, this is not how I live my life at all. Rah for Natalie. I don't know how y'all feel about Natalie, but I absolutely love her spirit. I would love to interview her. And y'all know I don't interview 90 Day Fiance cast, but I would love to interview Natalie. So y'all make sure, if y'all know what her social media handle is, y'all let her know Auntie want to talk to her, because I'm telling you right now, she handled this perfectly. So anyway, I digress. So she's telling him, this is embarrassing and all this kind of stuff. And then he come back thinking that he got the right to come out and say anything. So he walks up on Gino and Natalie as they are discussing everything. And so he said, is there any way that I can talk to you too? So, he wants to bring up the fact that, did Gino tell you that he was about to call off this separation and this divorce from Jasmine? And Natalie handled him correct. She said, look, let me tell you something. I ain't got this to do with you, boo. The conversations that I have with Gino are none of your business, and I'm not going to discuss that with you. I'm not going to discuss it with you. So Gino was like, what are you doing? What are you doing out here anyway? Gino said he's short and ugly. And you know what? When Gino said it now, when Gino said that he was short, it showed, and the cameraman made sure that we knew that Matt was short. And then when they zoomed in on his face, he looked older than Gino do. He's trying to downgrade Gino because Gino with hats got a bald head. Is he insecure about that? But when you really look at it, Matt is not the catch. He's not to catch me out. Right? He's no better than Gino is, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Y'all let me know y'all's downtown in the chat. But honey, they made sure they let us know that Matt is about 4'5", child. And so, Matt is just sitting there and she was like, this don't have anything to do with me. Why are you out here talking? And so, Matt is like, I just, felt like you needed to know, whoop de whoop de whoop. Jasmine got upset because, she is still wearing the man's ring. And, she, how would you feel if you walked up in the club or Jasmine act like that because she saw you there? And she was like, look, again, that's none of my business. It's none of my concern. And I'm a divorcee. So I've walked into situations before where my spouse was there, right, or ex-spouse was there, right? You're just making excuses for poor behavior. And Gino was like, in the audacity for you to come out here and she's living with you. You're sleeping with a married woman. What does that make you? He said, I did what y'all wanted me to do. No, you was messing with Jasmine prior to the two of you all probably sat downtown at the gym somewhere or at a cafe and made this discussion because this did not just drop out of the air. You were in agreement with this. When Jasmine presented this, she presented this on your behalf. And then he tells Gino, I don't want to be with Jasmine. We have been hearing him say for weeks now that how much he loves Jasmine, how much he wants to be with her, how he hopes that Jasmine's eyes open up and she realizes that Gino doesn't want her. We have been hearing him say this for weeks. Y'all, am I crazy? Y'all let me know downtown in the comment section whether I'm crazy and we have not been hearing this man say for the last couple of episodes. We are episode what? 7? We have been hearing him say for 7 episodes now how much he wants Jasmine. And he has the nerve to sit there and say, who wants to be with a married woman? You do. You want to be with a married woman and you are with a married woman right now. So stand down. He wanted to come out there and be involved so bad. He never met Gino before. He wanted to have that confrontation with Gino. And Gino and Natalie told him, get on up out of here. They dismissed him. And I was raw and yes, get him. Y'all, I was going off. That's why I'm on here and live. Y'all know I don't come on here on no Sunday night, honey, okay? Absolutely, Tamika. Every chance he gets, he talks about wanting Jasmine. Absolutely. Elizabeth said he been saying that. Like, are you kidding me? Matt don't have a reason to be out there except for wanting to be involved in something and wanting to mess it up for Gino. Gino messed it up for himself when he invited her to the party. And Gino was like, who invited her? Your cousins invited her. They have been scheming behind your back the whole entire time. Your cousins are freaking messy. Now, Elizabeth said Matt is so messy. I agree with Elizabeth on that, but so is Gino's family. They are very, very messy. And they are the one that causes chaos and confusion and all of this mess that is going on downtown to 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After season 9, episode 7, Hasta La Vista, baby. And she dismissed him and told him this ain't got nothing to do with me. I ain't talking to you about anything. Get out of here. They sent him walking back up in there with his pants stuck between. Let me tell you something. They had him walking up in there, honey, with his head hanging low. Gino said with his old ugly self. What a good freaking episode this was. And honey, Andrei, Libby, and Libby Daddy went down to the wreckage. Andrei took $75,000 and invested in a property. Had Chuck fly from America, knowing that Chuck has had some medical issues, so it's a risk for him to be flying anywhere. But they have Chuck fly all the way out to Moldova to look at this investment property that Andrei has purchased with his money and Elizabeth's money for $75,000 of American money. They get over there. The kids, I guess, is with the family. And they walk up to a big building. Nice, big, huge building. Additional property, additional housing, garages look like a storage unit, right? All of that stuff, square footage, that stuff count. But it's a homey, tore up mess. They go inside. Andrei opens up the door. He can barely get it open. He opens up the door, and y'all, when I tell you that it was cemented, old walls, gutted roof with the beams exposed, and the whole floor looked like someone had taken one of those jack, and broke up every piece of concrete floor in there. It had the concrete dust. The smell was disgusting. Elizabeth couldn't even breathe walking through it. It was a total demolition site. It was a demo site. The ceilings were, I don't know what them ceilings were. They were like, so my house they had to be 20, 30 feet high ceilings. Andrei is telling them to walk through it. And Chuck is like, what is going on in here? Where's the framing work? Where's this? Where's that? And Andrei says, we're going to demo it. So Elizabeth says, so then why are we in it? She said, we don't do this. We don't do guts. We don't do a totally gutted out demo building. This is not our area of expertise. We can take a building where the structure is not damaged and we can renovate it. We don't do total guts. Chuck said, we don't do this. Chuck is walking over concrete that has just been totally demoed, rocks, boulders of concrete. Elizabeth goes outside and said, I can't even do this. She couldn't even breathe in it. He shows them another piece of building. I don't know if it was a storage shed or what it was, but they were like, why are we here? Elizabeth said, why is this property looking like this? And we purchased this 2 years ago. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. She said, why is this still looking like this after 2 years? Chuck is looking like, this my daughter. What's going on? Elizabeth They like, what's going on? Andrei says that because they had started doing the work on it, they got into a deal with someone, I guess, in Russia. He said then they started the Ukraine and Russia war. I believe it started in 2022. Let me confirm that. February 24th of 2022 when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. If they purchased, this is 2025. Let's assume that this was filmed in 2024. That's about the right time. He says that they had made a deal and that the people pulled out of it and that they were unable to get their money or move their money around, and basically the money is gone. Now, I ain't going to get into the politics of this or nothing. Like, I just ain't going to do it. But basically, Andrei lost $75,000 and never said anything to Libby. Chuck is saying this isn't deceit. Elizabeth said it is, Dad. And the reason why it is because he knew that all of this was going on and he withheld the information. And omitting information is a lie. Period. Point blank. Chuck. It's a lie. If I am in a relationship with my husband or in a business partnership and the individual knows something that I do not, hey, Gypsy, I can see your name down there. Hi, boo, with my glasses off. I'm in a partnership with you and I don't know every intricate detail of what's going on. That's fine. But the stuff that really concerns me and the stuff that's at a high level, I need to know. If there's been a change of plans, if what he is saying about Ukraine and Russia, if what Andrei is saying is true, Libby had a right to know that that money would never be recovered. Andrei said they have been trying to call them. They can't get an answer. It's almost like their business or whatever it is doesn't even exist. Libby had a right to know. Libby was so angry that when they got back to the hotel, we saw Libby packing. Libby packing bags. Andrei is eating a bowl of cereal. So I'm sure that tensions were high in the car and probably have been high for hours. Libby took it upon herself to change her airline tickets to fly back out of Moldova with her father. Now, we know that Andrei has appeared to be deceitful the whole entire time because he threw this big old party because Andrei knew he was going to have to explain about that $75,000 loss. Andrei knew that, which is why he had the fireworks, which is why he stood up in front of his family and said, "We're moving to Moldova." All the things that Andrei has done has led up to this moment. And Libby is done. I'm sure she doesn't feel safe with him because one thing about us as women, or at least me, let me speak for myself. Once my trust is gone, I can't bunk with you. And Libby told him, I can't trust you. And I agree with Libby. So Andrei is like, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm leaving. I have changed my airline tickets. I'm going back. I'm flying back to America with my father." And so Andrei was like, "Are you kidding?" And she was like, "No, I am not kidding. I have changed my tickets." He said, "Well, why do you have my underwear in your suitcase?" She said, "You can take the underwear. I don't need your effing underwear." So she throws it, basically across the room. He, whatever. He doesn't believe that Libby is going. Libby said, I am not playing. He said, you doing this over this? She said, yes. I don't trust you. And I'm getting up out of Dodge. She says she doesn't know how the relationship is going to be with Andrei when he gets back to America, but she's out of there. She can't take anymore. I'm sure that there probably was other things that was going on. This man got her going to all these beautiful places only for her to go to a demolition site for something that she spent $75,000 on. Andrei didn't come over here rich. Andrei was poor and Billy had a job. Remember, y'all, he had tried to get his CDL to do a business. If it wasn't for Chuck, Andrei wouldn't have anything. So Chuck comes into the room because Libby is like, we gone. And he said, did you change my ticket? She said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I got to get out of here. I need some space. I need some time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I was too. I was too. And then Chuck comes in and he said she's leaving. Chuck said that's what she want to do. He said you're not a good grandfather and a good father. He said that's my daughter. And if she want to leave, she going to leave. What you want me to do? Stop her from leaving? Libby said, ain't even no need of having no conversation. Let's go. She gathers up her kids. He's holding a little boy. At first, I thought he was going to fight her over that little boy. Didn't y'all? I thought he was going to make it difficult for her to take her son. But he ended up giving her the son. He ran over there and kissed the daughter. And Libby was out the door. When she got into the Uber or Lyft or whatever they have, Chuck asked her, Libby, do you think you making a mistake? She said, I have never been more clearer, more confident, more sure of any decision I've ever made. Like I am sure about this decision. Honey, next thing you know, we see them at the airport, and honey, they are going to the boarding gate while Andrei is sitting at home devastated. He thought that saying something to Libby and saying something negative to Chuck was going to change what was going on. Libby was done. And I'm telling you right now, I was so happy for her. Get up out of there. He had already called her in one of the other episodes. I think it was the episode last week. Miss Independent American Women. If you're not married, you're independent. And now that she's married to you, it seems like she still needs to be independent. And she is independent because you sure didn't depend on her to make a decision. You didn't depend on her and trust her with what was going on. So you know what? You've made her. If she's independent, it's because you've made her independent. Point blank into the period, Andrei. Point blank into the period, Andrei. So he said, you know what? We need some time alone. I'm going to stay here for a week and then I'll fly back home. She wanted to go, so I let her. You ain't had no choice. He didn't have a choice. Libby pulled the independent American, spoiled American girls move. She was living. And now she's going to come back home to Yara and to all the rest of them being judgmental and putting their mouth on the situation. And if I was one of them, I would just listen and tell Libby whatever choice you make, whatever decision you make, I support you. If you want to stay with him after this loss, stay with him. If you want to leave him, leave him. Do what you got to do. Because this man has taken her good. She ought to have known because there was some stuff that was going on with him. When he was fleeing. In my opinion, he was already fleeing. Moldova. He full of crap. And congratulations to Libby. Anyway, y'all, that is the end of this recap. I was trying to make it to 30 minutes, but it's gone into 40. I love you all so much. Thank you all so much for your support. Y'all let me know downtown in the comment section what y'all think about that. Keep the conversation going on there. Thank you all so much for coming. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on the way out. I love you all. And until we meet again, y'all be safe out there in those streets and in the water. Bye, y'all.